Hi, you're on the Retelling Films channel, and this is a retelling of the movie Vesper. A little girl and her paralyzed father survive the apocalypse by genetically improving plants to save humanity. The movie begins with a brief backstory in the form of credits. In the future, in an attempt to save themselves from an ecological catastrophe, mankind has played with genetic technology. Because of this, new microorganisms broke free, which led to the destruction of all edible animals and plants, as well as a large part of humans themselves. The surviving world elites live in so-called citadels, where strict population control and the latest technology help them survive. The rest of us lead a miserable existence on infertile lands, forced to trade seeds from urban oligarchs for plants genetically programmed so that the fruit that grows from them does not produce offspring. In the opening scene, the main character named Vesper, together with a flying drone controlled by her paralyzed father, digs through the mud in search of edible roots. After digging up some roots, the girl returns home, carefully avoiding the tentacles of predatory plants sticking out of the ground. Inside, she prepares a nutrient mixture, which she pours into a bag and hangs it next to her paralyzed father's bed to feed him through a tube. After feeding her father, the girl goes to the laboratory, with her father's telepathically controlled drone flying along with her. Inside, the girl talks to a time-dried dead man and collects the necessary devices for her own scientific experiments. She is interrupted by a suspicious noise outside, the source of which turns out to be one of the pilgrims, sick people collecting junk and taking it somewhere. Returning home, Vesper notices that the guards from the predatory tentacles have been interrupted by someone. With knife in hand, she sneaks into the house, but no one is there. However, some things are damaged, especially the power generator that supports her father's life support system. The girl goes to the nearest settlement for help, where she witnesses a horrible scene. Locals with traces of genetic defects on their faces surround a wounded jago, a creature that has been artificially bred to work. As the village elder Jonas appears, he forces the culprit to kill the wounded jago to put him out of his misery. Although not immediately, the guy kills the artificially raised worker with a knife. After ordering the body to be removed, Jonas talks to Vesper, who is his niece. The girl asks her uncle for the necessary parts to repair the generator, but he refuses to help for free because times are tough now. The girl then gives her blood in return, which Jonas uses to trade with the Citadel. When she asks him to pay her back, her uncle tells her to come back in a couple days. First, she has to sell the blood, but her father won't last that long. So the girl wants to take back her blood, but it doesn't work out. Jonas throws her out on the street, where his children make fun of her. Later, Vesper returns to the village to sneak inside. When she tries to sneak into the house unnoticed, one of the Jonas children, the boy who drew blood from her finger, bumps into her, but he says nothing, allowing her to carry out her plan. But besides parts for the generator, she steals seeds, from which the uncle unsuccessfully tries to grow a crop. Returning back, the girl sees a glider falling in the sky, but pays no attention to it. At home, she shows her father the stolen seeds, which she wants to try to genetically unlock so that they will produce offspring naturally. The next day, wandering through the woods, she finds an injured woman, who, judging by her clothes, is from the Citadel. She is already surrounded by blood-sucking plants. Noticing that the woman is still breathing, Vesper detaches the plant's flagella and drags her home, where he treats her wounds and pulls out the parasites. Her father is unhappy that she brought in an outsider, but the Vesper believes she did the right thing. The rescued woman could be her ticket to a better life within the walls of the Citadel. Meanwhile, a woman named Camellia comes to her senses and hides a knife under her pillow. She asks the girl where her companion is and says that he must be found. Vesper, contrary to her father's words, promises to find the second passenger, but only when morning comes. In the evening, the girl tries to feed her guest, but she is not used to eating soup with maggots and caterpillars, even if the girl carefully chose the juiciest ones. Camellia says that her father is a very important person and will help them, and Vesper tells her that her father was a Citadel soldier until he was wounded. The drone he controls is all his employers rewarded him with for his service. Suddenly, the sick father has a seizure. Camellia soothes him with a kiss, after which he falls into a deep sleep. In the morning, the girl, together with her drone, goes in search of the crashed glider, following the trail of fragments. She finds the apparatus in a lowland. Vesper does not have time to open the door before Jonas and his men appear. Seeing an injured Citadel resident inside, Jonas strangles him instead of helping him, despite his niece's tears and pleas. Realizing that there is a second passenger somewhere, the uncle asks the girl if she has met anyone else, but she lies so as not to give Camellia away. Back home, she lies to her guest, saying she found nothing. At night, Vesper takes Camellia to her garden, where the plants she has created grow. She wants to prove her usefulness as a geneticist, so Camellia puts in a good word for her at the Citadel. At the house, the girl talks about her mother, who once fell ill and left with the pilgrims. They then look at a book about animals. Camellia, who has grown up in more favorable conditions, tells the girl about the habits of extinct creatures. After agreeing with her father to call people from the Citadel for Camellia, the girl tries to break into her uncle's house the next day. After all, he is the only one in the whole neighborhood who has a transmitter for communication. The drone flew to reconnoiter, but fell into the hands of Jonas. He is rummaging through the drone's innards when Vesper arrives. Uncle wonders why she showed up and if she knows who stole his seeds. He even had to chastise his son, who was on duty that day. Frightened by his ominous tone, Vesper grabs drone and runs away at the first convenient opportunity. Jonas follows and whistles a command to his sons. In the forest, the girl launches the drone into flight, but the drone can barely keep its balance after being repaired. It falls into a low place. The girl descends after it and stumbles upon the body of a dead boy, the same one who had not raised the alarm earlier. Soon, the boys sent after her show up. They pursue Vesper and eventually catch her. While two of them hold her, the third brand her hand with a red-hot iron. At home, the Vesper is distraught, trying to fix the drone. Camellia comforts her, and eventually the girl confesses to her that her father, the glider's second passenger, is dead. She takes the guest to the forest, where his body lies in the swamp. Vesper notices a scar on Camellia's back and realizes that she is an artificially created Jago, unique in its kind, endowed, unlike the others, with full consciousness and personality. Along with her creator, she has been on the run for breaking the law on creating sentient Jago. Vesper realizes that Camellia will not take her to the Citadel, as she cannot return there herself. This enrages her, and she throws mud at the woman. Back at her father's house, the girl tells him what has happened. He says that the girl still has to run away. Jonas has marked her as prey and will punish her for stealing. While they are talking, Camellia in the other room tries to kill herself with a hidden knife but misses. Vesper arrives to the cry of pain and prevents her from finishing what she has started. After making up, the girl asks Camellia for permission to examine her genetic material, and in her DNA, Vesper finds a blocked code, the same as the seeds of plants without the ability to reproduce. At the same time, Camellia tells her that her creator treated her not as a daughter, but as a spouse. Remembering him, the guest begins to play a musical instrument. The DNA suddenly reacts to certain notes, and with their help, Vesper manages to unravel the code. By adding Camellia's genetic material to the seeds, the girl was able to unlock the seeds so that they would produce offspring. This discovery shows that it is no longer necessary to buy grains from the Citadel, but to produce them yourself. Upon learning of this, her father tells her to go with Camellia to another Citadel and exchange the unlocked seeds for a safe haven. To finish the experiments, the girl goes to the laboratory. At this time, Jonas comes to the house and finds Camellia there. He offers to go with him, threatening to kill his sick brother if he refuses. But noticing that she is not a human, but a Jago, Jonas tries to rape her and then kill her. In this, he is prevented by the returning Vesper and Dron. A fight breaks out between Jonas and the girls, which ends when he is stabbed with a knife. The niece offers the uncle a deal. He leaves them alone, getting unlocked seeds in return. Then he will have his own crops and won't have to collect blood from the children to trade with the Citadel. However, back in the village, the man contacts the Citadel via transmitter and tells them about the escaped Jago. In the evening, while Vesper is experimenting, the house is attacked. First, some kind of liquid that looks like rapidly growing mold seeps in through a crack under the door. The girls crawl away from it on the table, but it continues to spread. At the last moment, the mold suddenly solidifies and begins to evaporate as a noxious but quickly dissipating smoke. Realizing that the soldiers are coming, The father tells his daughter and Camellia to flee into the garden. He himself tries to convince his former colleagues that no one else is here. Meanwhile, the soldiers visit Jonas's house. He goes out to meet them and is shot in the head as an unnecessary witness. Drone meets the soldiers near a generator, which explodes after being shot, killing not only his father, but also the soldiers who came for his soul. The girl, seeing the flashes of flame, rushes back in tears, but Camellia holds her back and brings her to her senses. They continue towards the garden, but the silent soldiers of the Citadel are already on their heels. Vesper uses his knowledge of the terrain and plant features to trap one of the soldiers between red bushes. If the bush is disturbed, a swarm of aggressive fireflies will pierce through the one who disturbed them. The Vesper and Camellia deal with the first soldier while the second goes around the bushes looking for the fugitives. The girls hide behind the bushes until another plant gives them away with a squeak. The soldier returns and a fight breaks out between them. Vesper smears dirt on the glass of his helmet, causing him to drop his rifle. Picking up the weapon, the girl doesn't know how to fire it, but guesses to throw the rifle into the bushes. A swarm of fireflies rises from the bushes and attacks a soldier standing nearby. Camellia, realizing that the soldiers will not stop chasing her, is going to go back and surrender. Vesper tearfully begs her to stay and not leave her, but the woman uses a soporific kiss to put the girl to sleep. After covering her body with dry leaves, Camellia goes into the garden, where the soldiers find her. After waking up in the morning in the forest on the ground, Vesper returns to the ashes where the house was. She plants a few seeds in the blackened earth. She is caught doing this activity by the 4 Jonas children, who miraculously survived the night's sweep by the soldiers. When Vesper leaves to find a new citadel, they follow her. The children travel across the country, joining a group of pilgrims, carrying the collected garbage in a direction they know only too well. After a few days, the travelers come to a huge man-made tower of junk built by pilgrims who have camped at its base. As she approaches the tower, Vesper realizes that her journey is almost over. Leaving her companions at the bottom, the girl climbs up the fragile structure of the tower. Nearly falling off in the process, she climbs to the very top, to the observation deck overlooking the surrounding forests. The girl looks around and notices the giant domes of another citadel nearby. However, instead of getting down and going there, Vesper takes out the unlocked seeds and throws them into the wind so that they spread as wide as possible and sow the nearby lands. And there, perhaps the fruits and vegetables will eventually spread across the land again. This is where the movie ends. What do you think about this movie? Write your thoughts about the movie in the comments. If you liked my short retelling, then put likes and subscribe to not miss new videos. See you soon.